This is my TOK presentation. The first real life situation I would like to talk about for my presentation is the current outbreak of the COVID-19 virus that is currently going, and it's spreading pretty rapidly, and many countries are taking many different approaches to how they're handling it. The big thing we are seeing right now is everyone's just saying, wash your hands, clean up after yourself, avoid large group gatherings. A lot of schools near me just recently closed down to avoid these unnecessary large group gatherings. Now, the origins of the COVID-19 are kind of unknown. There's one theory which is more outlandish, which is the Wuhan land released the COVID-19 as part of a process of being a bioweapon. That's kind of been disproven because it's kind of a lame bioweapon in the sense that it doesn't really kill people as easily. Another one is that it originated in bats in the Wuhan markets and then jumped to humans, which is more plausible, but many of the people who first got the COVID-19 um, weren't around the markets at the time that the outbreak was happening. Now, we all believe in these theories, but we have no true reason. Why do we? And it's because of the coincidences. So we're seeing, oh, there's evidence that this little thing might be true, and someone else at a higher place is backing it. So we see the scientists backing the bat theory, and we see just a ton of people on the internet believing, oh, it's a bioweapon. We did that in Japan with other things, and we crop dusted this stuff before. There was talks about during World War II that we were going to biodust everything. And we all needed something to believe about the virus because there was a lot of things unknown, and we just needed to know something so that we weren't panicking as much. But now we are really panicking because, oh no, the schools are closed. What do we do? We're all kind of just lost. So this leads into my knowledge question is, should we trust knowledge based on science and scientists more than knowledge based on faith or a cult following? And we can also see this in a situation that's less severe and more fun, as in like Groundhog Day. And Groundhog Day is this thing in America where on February 2nd, Punks Phil sees, if he sees his shadow, there's more days of summer, and if Punk Phil sees a shadow, there's going to be less days into summer, and then more if he sees his shadow to winter. And he's kind of a funky dude. And so this year, on February 2nd, 2020, PETA tweeted that times change, traditions evolve, it's overdue for long-suffering Punk Phil to be retired. And they want people to use an AI groundhog that can actually predict the weather on Groundhog Day. No one really believes he does. It's just more of a fun thing. So what do? It's something that we all kind of do for fun. He only really has a 30 to 45% accuracy rate, and it's pretty believable that most people don't follow down his information to a T. It's more of just something that's kind of fun we do as a way of celebrating that winter is going to stay longer or spring's going to come early if we've had a really bad winter. It's more of just, oh, let's trust this because we want to, and we want to try and figure out something to do with this information. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is how we teach evolution in schooling. Now, the theory of evolution, it's so heavily put on to me as I've learned it 3 or 4 times in high school that you learn this, it's a theory, don't believe this, your parents can fight it. Like, one of my friends, her mom said, oh, that can't be true. I ruined a whole book for her because she's like, oh, evolution does not exist. But there's many theories to state that evolution does exist. Now, a scientist believes that it's survival of the fittest. The fittest will pass down their genes, and those genes are what's evolving and changing the rate at which things live and die. And it seems like a pretty easy, simple theory, but there's a lot of the way the scientists put it out. We're learning new things through genetic variations and genetic testing, that we're changing how things evolve rather than just going off atomical structures, because there's many things like homologous structures where things are just going the same way. Now, there's another theory out there of creationism that it's a dying theory, but it's more that everything was put out the way we wanted because God wanted it to be that way, and God will evolve the animals the way He wants it to be evolved. Now, for many, this doesn't even make much sense. Pope Francis has even come out and said that God created human beings and then He let them do their thing and develop, and He gave to each one so they could internal laws that would help change evolution. And it boils down to this final question of who is right? What do we have to say that one person is wrong over another one? Because we don't know if somebody is completely right or somebody is completely wrong. Science has evidence. Religion doesn't really have evidence, but scientists sometimes forge their evidence into proving something to be wrong or right, depending on what they want. You can manipulate one thing. My bio teacher has always said is you can manipulate your data into any way you want so that your hypothesis becomes true. On the other hand, religion is more, oh, somebody told me this and I'm gonna write it down, and then it becomes like a cult following. And that's kind of, religion, conspiracy theories, and superstitions are kind of the same way, in the fact that there's a cult following behind it, and more than one person can be right about something and prove that their theory is in fact true. Now, like, if you're like me and you don't believe in like many of the religious figures and stuff because you are like trying to make everything reasonable, it doesn't make sense. But is the only other question I have for you, is there a middle ground we can reach where one person is right or one person is wrong? Or is it one person is right, one person's wrong? Is it black and white or is it gray? For many things, I would like to believe it could be gray so people could believe on it. Like, it would make the most sense in which we kept a gray area and a black and a gray area, and we kept that nobody was right or wrong, so we're not killing or hurting or protesting over one another. There's a ton of people who like to protest against things like abortion and gay rights and everything just because it's wrong against their religious beliefs or what they believe is the origin, when it could be completely different. But we don't ever really know anything to be true, and that's the hard part for a lot of people, is for many things and almost anything out there, there's no right answer because we don't know why we're on this earth. We don't know why we are meant to be here, because there isn't one true answer for anything. There's so many different theories, and it's really hard to make all those theories and make one consensus theory or one theory that just combines everything into a big melting pot. And no one's ever going to believe all of the theories to be true. And going back to that original question, is should we trust science-based knowledge or faith-based knowledge more? It's honestly keep a mix of it, but it also stems down to the person and how you were raised and what your schema is and what you believe is the right thing to do. There isn't one right thing. And I think it's really hard for people to come to that conclusion. And if we could answer that question to be completely sure, a real life application would just be any of the protests that are currently going on around, which have kind of bowed down now during the coronavirus, but it's tough with how many protests there are, especially with people who want to have equality in this world. And then here are my sources.